morning, and welcome to the regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. Um, Also sitting as all special taxing district, December 1, 2025, 10 a.m. And again, welcome to our first meeting in this new building. Um, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, the Lions, can you please lead us? Please join me. We'll move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomments@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comments may be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. I do have a speakerphone. Senator Tim Dunn.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman and Supervisors. Thank you for allowing me to speak and a call to the public. I just want to say congratulations on the historic opening of your new building. I was just here for the ribbon cutting and did the tour of this amazing facility. Congratulations to Pilkington Construction and all the engineering teams that were here. And I really want to congratulate you for building it downtown and keeping it here. As you look at the ocean-to-ocean crossing and you look at our historic landing, Yuma Landing, I think keeping this county government here at the hub, the downtown is something that we can look at 50 years from now. And I just want to say that from a state level, being born and raised here as your state senator, technically not from this district, on the other side of the freeway, but from Yuma County, I want to congratulate you on the opening of your building, and I look forward to continue working in partnership from a state level and the county and our city government. So congratulations. That's all I have.
Thank you, Tim.
Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board and move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Move on to, during this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and Yuma County Board of Adjustments. No legal action will be taken. Move on to item number 1. Chairman proclaims the declaration of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors Auditorium as the E.F. Eugene Francis Sanguinetti Auditorium. And we have Supervisor Lyons reading the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclaiming the dedication of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors Auditorium as the E.F. Eugene Francis Sanguinetti Auditorium. Whereas the Yuma County Board of Supervisors recognizes the importance of honoring individuals whose vision, leadership, and dedication have made lasting contributions to our community. And Eugene Francis Sanguinetti has demonstrated exceptional leadership and influence in Yuma County as a developer, merchant, organizer, administrator, executive, and through his commitment, E.F. Sanguinetti has positively impacted the lives of countless residents throughout the years, strengthening the fabric of our county, leaving a legacy of dedication and inspiration. And it is fitting that the county honor E.F. Sanguinetti's legacy in a manner that reflects both the depth and breadth of his contributions. And the Board of Supervisors has determined that naming the Yuma County Board of Supervisors Auditorium in the name of Eugene Francis E.F. Sanguinetti, serves as a lasting tribute to his enduring influence and dedicated service. Now therefore, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaims the dedication of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors Auditorium as the E.F. Eugene Francis Sanguinetti Auditorium. And in recognition of the E.F. Sanguinetti's outstanding contributions to the people of Yuma County, with this dedication standing as a permanent reminder of his legacy and a source of inspiration for present and future generations. And we have his family here. Yeah. And Mr. Chairman, we do have representatives of his family who still live in Yuma County and contribute often.
First of all, County Supervisors, thank you very much for what you've done for our family. I'm speaking for my brothers Tim and Howard, my sisters Hillary and Alexis, my cousins Jane Sanguinetti and Mark Sanguinetti. Thank you very much. We appreciate so much that you have dedicated this auditorium for that. You know, he came here in 1883. There was nothing but mud huts and mosquitoes, and I asked my mother, why in the holy name did he stop here? She says, opportunity, opportunity. But hard work. He went to work for a merchant, and he learned the merchant business, later became known as the Merchant Prince, after establishing 12 to 14 stores across the city. He was a visionary, as you mentioned. So how did he do that? Once a week, every other week, he would invite 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people from the citizenry of Yuma to have lunch. He would mix up a pitcher of Manhattans and get them loosened up, sit down, and he would serve dinner like grandpa at dinner. He would carve the meal and pass it around. When everybody was relaxed and full, he would just listen. And that's how he kept his finger on the pulse of the community. Paz, his housekeeper, never knew how many were coming, but she always had enough food, whether it was 2 or 8. He was a generous man. I read in one newspaper account that with 200 employees, the number of paychecks was just a little bit more than the number of checks to the needy. He kept his mind on the community. He loved Yuma. He worked hard, as I said. My mother said he started at 8, came home at lunch, got home around 8 or 9 o'clock every night working for this community. He loved Yuma for all of what it stood for. So again, I thank you very, very much. Okay.
All right, if you guys want to come forward, we'll take a picture. Your wife is protesting.
Go up there, Mark.
Back here.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
I forgot to say one thing. You know, you don't get to pick your relatives. They could have been horse thieves, but they weren't. So, thank you.
Ian, I was, anyway, I was talking to Bruce, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Martine. If we can get a picture of him to put outside the auditorium with maybe a little plaque that describes what he's done, so people realize, you know, understand why it's named after him.
Maybe bigger than an 8x10.
Excellent idea. We'll take care of that.
Moving on to item number 2, Chairman proclaims the day of December 1st, 2025 to be World AIDS Day in Yuma County. And Supervisor Pancrase, can you?
Proclaiming December 1st, 2025 as World AIDS Day in Yuma County. Whereas the global spread of HIV infection and AIDS necessitates a worldwide effort to increase communications, education, action, and overall prevention to stop the spread of HIV/AIDS. And whereas the World Health Organization observes December 1st of each year as World AIDS Day, a day to expand and strengthen the worldwide effort to stop the spread of HIV/AIDS. And whereas 2024 World Health Organization reports the global HIV and AIDS statistics as follows. December 1st is a day for voices to unite by sharing experiences, remembering those lost, and standing together in a fight against HIV. 40.8 million people globally are living with HIV, and an estimated 1.3 million people became infected with HIV in 2024. An estimated 630,000 people died from HIV-related causes. Ending the HIV epidemic starts with knowledge, testing, and early intervention to ensure linkage to care is vital. 87% of the people living with HIV knew their status. 77% were receiving antiretroviral therapy. Say it again.
Antiretroviral.
Antiretroviral. I already checked that out to figure out how to say it.
My opportunity to share with the teacher.
I know, huh? Wow, huh? With 73% living virally suppressed. Whereas December 1st is World AIDS Day, a time to celebrate the many lives saved by HIV prevention and treatment programs. It also serves as a reminder that we all must do more as individuals, communities, and as world citizens to fight the spread of HIV and AIDS. Therefore, the chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaims the day of December 1st, 2025 to be World AIDS Day in Yuma County, and urges the public to participate in activities and the observance of this day to increase awareness and understanding of HIV and AIDS as a global challenge, and to continue to join efforts to prevent the further spread of HIV and AIDS.
Thank you, Lynn, and we do have, oh, there he is. Right.
Money.
There we go.
Chairman Porches, members of the board, good morning. Ryan Butcher, Deputy Chief Health Officer, Yuma County Health District. I just want to thank the Board of Supervisors for adopting the World's AIDS Proclamation. This proclamation is a part of an ongoing dedication that you guys have shown year after year, and it's deeply appreciated. Your action reflects a meaningful commitment to raising awareness, supporting individuals affected by HIV/AIDS, and standing against stigma in our community. Your continued leadership and support remind us that this work matters, and together we can foster a healthier and more compassionate community for all. I'd also like to recognize the incredible work of our HIV prevention staff and invite them up for a photo at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I make a statement? You can be checked for HIV at our county health department. So for those out there that we broadcast to, be aware, and if you or a family member needs to be tested or wants to be tested, it's available at the county health department.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and
Let's go down.
give you the proclamation.
Before we move to the next proclamation, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a former supervisor, Russell McLeod, who's sitting in the front, and then Cecilia, I think Cecilia McCullough is sitting behind him. I know I'm gonna miss people, so I'm not gonna start by introducing everybody, but I saw him walking in. John Smith somewhere, because I saw him. Where's John? He's shorter. It's just shorter. Forgot. No, really, it's nice to see your faces up here. And I think I saw somewhere in there, I saw some of the people I just don't want to introduce. So there's Mr. Lara there in the corner. He looks a lot like me, so I can miss him. I was looking at a mirror or something. But there's people here that I'd like to acknowledge their presence because they've been something important in the past. So before we move on to something else, I'd like to acknowledge their presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Moving on to item number 3, presentation of the Yuma County Administration Services welcome video by Yuma 77.
Welcome to the new Yuma County Administration Services building, and thank you for joining us today. Good morning, my name is Clint Harrington, and I am president of Pilkington Construction. It has been an honor to help bring this vision to life. What you see here is a result of years of planning, dedication, and collaboration between not only Yuma County leadership, Pilkington Construction, and our local subcontractors, the architect and engineering team, which is BWS Architects, Chris Thompson Design Architects, Rob Campbell Structural Engineering, and Dahl Robbins Associates for Civil Engineering, and countless other individuals who have contributed their expertise and hard work. This new Board of Supervisors auditorium was designed with the community in mind. From the ground up, our goal was to create a modern, functional, and welcoming space that supports transparency, public participation, and the important work done on behalf of Yuma County residents. We are proud to present a facility built to serve our Yuma community for generations to come.
On behalf of Yuma County, welcome. This auditorium represents more than a new space. It reflects our commitment to accessible, efficient, and community-focused government. Here, our Board of Supervisors will conduct public meetings, hold discussions, and make decisions that guide the future of our county. This building is an investment in the people we serve. By bringing multiple services under one roof and creating a central hub for public engagement, we strengthen our connection to the community and improve the way we deliver essential services. Thank you for being part of this important moment in Yuma County's continued growth. We invite you to enjoy the new space and join us as we move forward together into a brighter and more connected future. Welcome to Yuma County Administration Services.
Thank you for joining us this important day for Yuma County. As chairman of the Board of Supervisors, I am proud to help open a facility that reflects our commitment to transparency, public involvement, and responsible leadership. This new auditorium and administration service building were created with our residents at the center of our every decision. It is a place where community voices can be heard and where thoughtful discussions will guide the future of our county. I want to thank everyone who contributed to this project, from county staff to our construction and design partners. Your dedication has resulted in a space that will serve our community well for many years. Most importantly, thank you to the people of Yuma County. This building is an investment in you and in the work we do on your behalf. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors, welcome to your new Yuma County Administration Services building. Moving on to consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and accepted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 1 through 13 with the exception of number 7
And 5.
and 5.
Okay, we have a motion to accept consent calendar with the 1 through 16, with the exception of 5 and 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to pull that one because I'm a member of the board for Tacna Volunteer Fire Department, so I need to abstain from voting on that one.
All right.
I wasn't sure, but I figured I'd.
You know,
play it
conflict
safe.
of interest normally applies to gains, to financial gains. So everybody that, you know, it's an individual choice. But I like to remind everybody that the only time you have a conflict of interest is when you stand to gain something. I think being a member of a board of a nonprofit doesn't qualify as a conflict, but if he wants to do that, it's fine. I just want you to know that we should get a legal opinion regarding conflicts of interest, because it's become so usual that people declare conflict of interest when there really is no gain, no financial gain.
Mr. Chairman, there's no conflict of interest from my understanding as to Supervisor Simmons sitting on the board.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
All right. Just wanted to clear that out because it's becoming customary for everybody that has anything to do with anything to declare conflict of interest. It's not necessary. It has to be something that directly relates to your income. I just want to make that point.
Let that, if there's no conflict, I'll make a motion to approve item 5 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 5 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7.
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to take a moment to recognize the Koshan Indian Tribe and their work that they do in the community. They are always gracious and very supportive of the community efforts. I know that Catholic Community Services is in receipt of that donation for $7,132 this time. And we very much appreciate their partnership and allowing us to designate these funds in our community.
Yes, I would also like to thank the Koshan Indian Tribe. They always, almost, I think every year or twice a year, we are a recipient of their share contributions. So I do want to thank them. And I believe we have someone from here, from Catholic Community Service.
It feels weird not recognizing everybody, doesn't it?
My director said, you don't have to talk, just pick up a check. No. I want to say thank you so much. We try to help even across the bridge. To Somerton, San Luis, we are here. Many victims, especially during the holidays, is very difficult. And any donation, anything helps. So thank you on behalf of Catholic Community Services.
Can we please get your name?
Gabriela Sanchez.
And I like to emphasize that every year the Koshan Drive allows us to choose who the money goes to. It is part of a contract, a compact that they have with the state of California, whereas part of their profits will go to a community, and they've chosen Yuma County as a conduit to get those monies out to the community. So I congratulate the Catholic Community Services and all the ones that have received, because the food bank has received some money, and some people in South County and some people nearby. But it's always been directed to people in need. So I feel very, very comfortable that this money is going to Catholic Community Services. Thank you, Gabi.
You had a question?
Gabriela, are you part of the staff for Safe House?
Yes, I am.
And can you tell us what you do?
I'm the supervisor, lead advocate for the Yuma County all the way to Douglas, Sierra Vista. So we travel, but by love is Yuma and Somerton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby.
Mr. Chairman, if there's nothing else, then I would make a motion we approve number 7.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 7 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on,
Mr. Chairman, before we leave the open to the public, or we leave it open all the time, but I just do I want to make reference to Kelly and her staff, Santos, who handled some issues in Gadsden pretty quickly and pretty fast. So I just want to thank them publicly for being so good at what you do and for giving us the ability to avoid having conflicts with people in different places of our district. So thank you very much for what you did this weekend, and I appreciate it.
all right. Moving on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, Development Services, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Martinez Lake Improvement District. We have Maggie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. This is an item to consider approving or denying lot tie number 2501. It is located in the Martinez Lake Resort Plan Development Subdivision. The assessor's parcel numbers are 459, 50, 094, and 095. And it's lots 86 and 87. And the intent is to consider approving the lot tie. It was approved earlier this year. The issue in question is the transferring of a portion of the internal private road. The proposal was to combine lots 86 and 87. Through the combination of the lots, they also reconfigured a portion of the private road within the subdivision. So that needs action by the improvement district to approve or deny the lot tie. So the board has the option. This is an aerial image of the lots. And the board may either approve the request and authorize the chairman to sign all documents necessary to effect the request or deny the request.
Can we go back to the slide before the aerial photograph? Okay. So it's really just a driveway at the end of the road. They're combining the two, there's no real.
The way they reconfigured it, a portion of the road is affected. So it's just a tiny portion on the southern portion of the private road or the properties.
Okay. Okay. If nobody has a question, I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the request and authorize the chairman to sign all documents necessary to effect the request. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 2.
Morning,
The Office of Management and Budget, Tony.
Chairman Porteous, members of the board, pleasure to be here today. Tony Struck, I'm the Budget Director, representing the Office of Management and Budget. I want to do
Tony, could we get you to speak into the mic a little
in
bit
the
more?
microphone.
Is it on?
How about that?
That's better.
That's better? Okay. Raise it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so this is typical what I've done in the past, kind of compare where our revenues are going, what are our expenditures going for the first quarter of the fiscal year. We'll get right into it with revenues. This slide shows the historical revenues for the the current year and the last 3 years. You can see that we're at about 21.3 million, which is $1.7 million than we were at the same time last year. That's driven by property taxes. We had strong collections in the first quarter. That's not typical. County sales taxes are come in strong for the first quarter. We had indirect cost revenues were up over prior year, and our state shared sales taxes is also up on a year-to-year basis.
You got to get used to the system. But before we leave that chart, it's incredible how small that it's property tax revenues, because it's the most important thing that people look at. What are my taxes doing? And when you look at that especially when you look at something like that, you will see just how small the property tax revenues are as compared to everything else. So I just want to make that point, because it seems to me like the hardest thing we have to deal with as supervisors is, what are we doing? What are you doing with my property taxes?
Right.
I keep telling everybody, well, your property taxes don't make up maybe less than 1/10 of a percent, less than 1/10%, less than 10%. Excuse me, less than 10%.
For the first quarter, for sure.
Well,
we do collect the majority of our property taxes in the second quarter, and in the
shouldn't have said that.
fourth
That was,
quarter, so.
it sounded better the way I said it.
In comparison to where we are compared to budget, like we're collected about $21.3 million through the first quarter. Our benchmark for that is about $20.2 million, so we're $1.1 million above where I would expect us to be at this time. And the areas that are highlighted, property tax revenues, we've collected 2.9% of the budget. Typically, we would expect about 1.5% through the first quarter. We did have a offset in that category to the refund for the San Diego Gas and Light. That was a couple $100,000. So I'm thinking that maybe the assessor really sent out the bills sooner and people got them paid while they were still in the old location because of where they were. So that's just the thought. Vehicle license taxes, we've collected 25% of the budget, where we expect to be about 24% at this time, so up on that. State shared sales taxes are just slightly off where we would expect to be, down about 0.2%. And like I said, county sales taxes are 23.5% collected on a benchmark of 22.6%. On intergovernmental, we're up a couple $100,000. That's really the $250,000 we received the first quarter payment on the recorder's funding that the state authorized this year. And then that's really the major differences or highlights of the revenues to benchmark. So pretty strong through the first quarter. I'm glad to be that way. We'll get into some other revenue slides coming up. Specifically, I'd like to talk about just state shared sales taxes. I'd mentioned we're above where I would expect us to be. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee updates their projections a few times a year. They just updated it in October. They're estimating this year that their sales taxes are only going to be up 2.8%. We're currently running higher than that. So. And we've typically finished, I think, higher than what their expectations. I think they're very conservative in how they present that. So if we did come in at only 2.8% above prior year, we'd be slightly off our target, but we're trending above that right now. The budget for this year is where we finished 3.7% above projection. And this is the graph of the state shared sales taxes. You can see, and we don't have a pointer anymore, but we're just slightly below budget. The budget is the top line. You can see it runs across with the little dots across the top. We were right at target the first in July, and then August and September were just slightly off of budget, but nothing to be too concerned at this point. As far as our total county sales taxes, you can see we had a strong July month. We actually fell slightly below prior year in August, but September was very strong. If you remember, last September, we had a negative adjustment for contracting prime. That was a couple $100,000, so we're actually was 9% higher on a year-to-year basis. But county sales taxes are above where we would expect to be at this point.
You know, Tony, I used to think that this was an easier way to read, to find out where we are, but now I'm starting to doubt that. Your crosses, your lines are in the cross so much that by now it's difficult to tell which line is which. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, we're trending right at budgets, so it's kind of hard to differentiate that. But retail sales taxes are where 57 or 8% of our revenues come from. And we are basically flat on a year-to-year basis on premise county retail sales tax collections, slightly off where we were supposed to be, but still strong if you look compared to the prior 3 or 4 years. When you look at the remote sale category, it's still a growing portion of what our, I guess technically retail sales are based on online sales. What I read about the Black Friday, there was increase on online sales, so I would expect that number will be fairly strong in November when we get those numbers. But then combining both of those two categories, which basically is retail sales, you can see that we're basically flat to last year. Excuse me. So this is where hopefully over the next few months that retail sales will pick up. I think we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. We're kind of optimistic that we'll continue to increase that category. The contracting prime numbers, those numbers have been strong, and you see in the middle of the screen the 3 orange diamonds in there. Still kind of strong through the first 3 months. Last year in September, you saw we had the negative adjustment that basically gave us the large increase for this year. But if you look at December, we had that $400,000 approximate increase correction from the prior year. So once we get through December, that's where I expect we'll really have a really better idea of where we stand going forward for the rest of the year. This slide just shows from September for the last four or five fiscal years. The first category is the total. You can see that last year we had, for first quarter, we were down compared to the previous year, but we've picked up, and that's a positive note to see. Retail sales, as I had noted, are pretty flat. The contracting category, again, strong for the first quarter. Restaurant and bar sales are continuing to increase, which is kind of surprising but I guess that's a positive thing for the community with what's going on. And then the utilities and remote sales and property taxes, that's just kind of the major ones going forward. You can see that the retail is the largest component of our sales tax collections. When you look at our expenditures on a year-to-year basis, the last 2 years, slide 13. We're year to date, we're at 22. We're up 22 million. I'm sorry, wrong slide. On a year-to-year basis, we're at 30.9 million. Our expenses are up 3.9% over prior year. You can see that our personnel numbers are up about 900,000, and that's due to the comp strategy that you approved and the 3% scale adjustment. Plus, we had increases to our health insurance costs and our workers' comp costs this last year. So that attributes to that. Our supplies and services are pretty much flat on a year-to-year basis. We did have increases in our user license fees and our Altex, the long-term care, goes up annually. We did have some decreases in insurance premiums and a couple other things to net out to pretty much being flat on a year-to-year basis. The bigger, in 24 and 25, the larger personnel budget, the reason that is that finance has posted an additional pay period within the first quarter than they did the prior 2 years. So that's what explains the kind of large increase in 24, 25, and 25, 26. And as far as looking at how we compare to where we expect to be, personnel costs were at 1.3 million below our benchmark. Last year we were 1.6 below benchmark. We have decreased the vacancy rate from 8.15 for the first quarter last year to 7.4% for this year. That's approximately 54 open positions throughout the 15 different departments and offices that we track at the high level. It's a positive note, and I think it's due to the employer of choice initiatives that we have to make sure that we're retaining employees. There's 70-some% of our vacancies are within 90 days or 60 days, so they're being recruited for. So we don't have a really, I think over the 54, there's only 5 that are approaching a year, and maybe hold on, only 3 that are over a year old, and those are in public safety sector, and then a couple others in the 90 range. But overall, I believe that we're trending downwards on that, and that's where we expect to be on our benchmark. And then supplies and services are basically where we expect. 31% is where we would, of the expenses that we expect to expend it for the first quarter, and that's due to all the insurances and contracts and everything that we pay in July and August. So almost 40% of our actual expenses for supplies and services in the first quarter are an annual amount. So, but that's what that looks like, and I think we're very close. Proud of how we budget, and that's the first quarter results. So open up to any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Tony?
I have one, Tony. I know we do long-term financing, and I know I was looking for the date that we get together to discuss that. But I mean, how does it look long-term? I mean, it's still, do we still have to prepare for a what do you call it, a budget override or something what I call, or what do we still have some things to prepare for the long-term? I guess we will discuss that in December something.
The expense limitation, is that?
Expense limitations, yeah.
Yeah, I think Humberto will probably have information on that.
Got it.
Any other questions for Tony? Thank you, Tony.
No, thank you.
Moving on to item number 3, Public Works update discussion and possible direction regarding the future operation of a new solid waste transfer station on West County 19th Street.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Kelly Fricky, Public Works Director, and I'm here today to provide a progress update on the new South County Transfer Station. And at your direction, we've been moving forward with establishing this new facility, and it will be located on County 19th Street between Avenues A and D and E. And it's in an area where demand and illegal dumping are high. We've already secured the 10 acres of land from the Bureau of Reclamation and purchased most of the equipment. We issued the RFP for construction in October and opened the bids on November 18th. On December 15th, we plan to return to you for contract award. And once the notice to proceed is issued, the contractor will have 120 calendar days to complete the construction. If the schedule stays on track, we are expecting to open the facility by July 2026. But this morning, I'd like to talk to you about 3 topics: operating days, staffing, and funding. And your feedback is welcome. For the operating days, we plan to start opening to the public in the beginning for 3 days per week, either Thursday through Saturday or Friday through Sunday. And we'll monitor the attendance over that period of time and the tonnage that comes in on a monthly basis. And if demand requires more days, then we'll return to you with our recommendations. Okay. Staffing is critical. Currently, the Waste Management Division has 9 employees who operate all 4 solid waste transfer stations and 1 waste tire facility. So our existing sites served over 84,000 visitors last year. And to efficiently and safely operate the new transfer station 3 days per week, we need no fewer than 3 additional full-time positions: 1 equipment operator and 2 solid waste technicians. Anything less would make it impossible to open the new station while maintaining service levels at the existing sites. And as for funding, last year the transfer station operations totaled $1,046,000, which includes personnel and expenses. Opening the new facility for 3 days per week, we're estimating will add about $315,000 annually, and this consists of $195,000 for personnel and $120,000 for expenses, which would bring the total to roughly $1.3 million for the whole program. So one option to offset the additional cost of the new transfer station could be a modest flat gate fee. For example, a $5 fee per vehicle, based on last year's 84,000 vehicle count, would have generated over $420,000, more than enough to cover the new station's estimated operating costs. And a $5 fee per vehicle is less than any other fee charged at other facilities. The landfill charges $41 per ton, and Suburban Transfer Station, they charge $15 per ton for city residents and $87 per ton for county residents. We understand the concerns that have been brought up in the past that fees could contribute to illegal dumping. And that's why I'm pleased to share that we've been awarded the ADEQ Right Grant for $79,000. These funds will support countywide education programs, billboards, television, radio, newspaper ads, internet geofencing ads, and booths at special events, all aimed at reducing illegal dumping and promoting proper waste disposal across the county. So we're hoping that will bring down, the illegal dumping numbers. So in closing, I'm not asking for a formal action today, but I would appreciate your input on these 3 topics. The operating days, whether our initial plan aligns with your expectations, staffing, hoping we can get your support for no less than 3 new positions to open the new site for 3 days per week, and fees, whether you'd like staff to explore a flat gate fee and come back at another time. But this new facility is a major step toward for South County. It improves access, enhances environmental protection, and ensures residents have reliable service. And your guidance will help us open it safely, efficiently, and sustainably. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I welcome your thoughts.
Any questions for Kelly?
To comment, Kelly, you did mention that the staffing is going to be needed sometime in July, which will be the next fiscal year for us. Is that correct? Or we need to plan for it before then so we can get the process?
It's possible it could be open April or May.
Oh.
But, it depends on how things go with the scheduling for that construction. but we're just,
I just want to get to the point where you're asking us to approve the additional 3 positions, or you're asking us simply to wait until next year and just plan for that. So it makes a difference because July is actually our next fiscal year, and maybe the question should be asked to Ian. Do we plan to have 3 additional positions at the location?
Well, that's up to us.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Supervisor Reyes, right now, that is what they're obviously asking for. We've had a couple conversations whether those positions could be covered with existing personnel, flexing from different site locations. That the answer I've received is no, that is not possible. They're at the max now, so we continue to explore those options. But as it stands now, that ask is real and legitimate. And while the BRT hasn't reviewed it or made a recommendation, it looks like it's a legitimate ask at this point.
Well, I think it's a legitimate ask. I just want to know the timing of it. Because if we set out three additional positions, I'm not sure whether our budget is enough to cover that. I mean, unless we take them out of the budget, the contingency account. Where will the 3 positions come from if it comes on this year's?
Yeah, if it comes in this year, there are funds available in salary savings and contingency to cover that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. I just wanted to know.
thank you.
Kelly, I have a question. You said we have nine employees for 4 sites?
Yes.
So with this 3 additional, if we were to hire the 3 new staff persons, and what would be the daily operation? How many do you have per site, or how does that work?
Those 3 employees would be working out at the south site, and they would be, for the 3 days that they're open, of course, they're going to tend to the public and do hauling. And then the other 2 days that they're not open to the public is when they would do more hauling, doing the green waste burning and cleaning up the site.
Okay. So it does take more than just bringing in
Correct.
hauling and arranging there, cleaning up, and okay.
Yes.
I got a comment. You mentioned a $5 fee, which would be to enter the site and dump the site and the site. And I know that's not supposed to cover commercial, those kind of things. But whenever I talk about the waste collection site, I talk about it being free in as a way of us trying to avoid having people dump their stuff out in the desert. So having a fee, well, it doesn't go against it. It's a small fee, but it needs sort of like a training thing. You know, you got to train people to start paying a little bit. But the problem we have with people taking stuff to the desert and dumping it is that they don't get charged anything. It's really difficult unless we use a detective style type process where we determine whose garbage that is. And it's very difficult after a while, when things have been in the desert for a while, to determine who actually dumped it. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a service that will require a fee to get in. And it would be sort of like on weekends, because you mentioned Thursday to Saturday or Friday to Sunday.
Right.
So it would be like a weekend thing for people who on weekends take the opportunity to go dump stuff in the desert. I appreciate that. I think that's the right attitude to take. Maybe it would be wise for us to consider opening it up all week, at least a few hours a day. I guess we'll look at the scheduling, because I like the fact that it's going to be open on weekends, because weekends is when most of these things happen. But I also think that not having it open on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's a problem. It will become a problem if we can't make a dent in people dumping in the desert. Then we're losing sight of what we're doing this. We're making it convenient for people to get rid of their old appliances and so forth by having a place to take them. But if that place is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, as we plan to have it, it may deter from the purpose. I just want you to think about that a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, I would support leaving this open, following some of our same hours. If we're going to make a dent in the trash that's been illegally dumped in South County, then we need to be open, ready, and available at all times so that people can bring the trash in. I'm tired of the complaints from the ag community with illegal dumping in proximity of the fields.
Supervisor Reyes, to answer your statement, we could consider opening 4 or even 5 days a week.
What I'm trying to get at is, I don't know how many employees you have to open up the site, just open the site so people can dump inside the site as opposed to dumping out in the fields. If it's open, it's open. If there's nobody there to take care of your garbage, well, that's too bad because we're only open. I'm talking about when do you open the facility? If the facility is going to be manned, then it's going to be an issue because you cannot open it all day, all night, at any time. And these people don't choose a particular hour and time and day to do their dumping. They just dump when they feel like. So if they feel like dumping on a Tuesday and the facility is closed, then we're defeating the purpose of having a facility where they can do it. Because what I think of is an area where you can go dump for free. But hey, if somebody's going to be there, if it's going to be closed on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, then it will defeat the purpose of allowing people to go dump their stuff without dumping out in the desert. It's food for thought. It's not really. I know you guys think of scheduling and you think of people manning it. What I'm thinking of is a location that is open all the time, 24 hours a day, and you're looking at when you can man it, when you can operate it, that kind of stuff. And it sort of flies against the fact that those people do it at any time at night. They do it at inconvenient hours for people who work on an hourly basis. So I'm just trying to get to some sort of
Let me ask Kelly, what if it was open from Monday to Saturday? How many personnel would you need?
If it was open 5 days, we would need 5 people. If it's open 7 days, we'd need 6 people.
What's the North Gila
Pardon
have
me?
right now? The North Gila transfer site, what does it have?
Days a week, and there's 9 people operating, well, they North Gila and the other sites, Dayton, Welton, and Tacna.
Okay.
Is it working? Is it working
Out east?
out east?
It seems to be working out east with the 3 out there. I'm just looking at, I can really see this new South County transfer site eventually being as busy as the North Gila. And I think we need to prepare for that because you look at the volume of people down there, and I've driven around down there, and the trash is horrendous in the desert and around the fields, and I would love to be able to get a grip on this problem by having that site open and available.
Why don't we, because you said if, let's say even if we get it open by the end of April, that's where I see it kind of more, we try the 3, and then at the beginning of the fiscal year, we get to open it more. Or that way we put it on the budget to either get 1 or 2 more positions.
Okay.
And if we're open, and maybe do a survey of the people coming in and see what might work best for
Okay.
those residents down in South County.
And Mr. Chairman, just the grant that Kelly mentioned, that $79,000 grant, that would be a great tool for us to spread the word about this new facility, make sure people know that it's available and open, and hopefully help make a dent in the illegal dumping issue.
Well, my problem is that I thought people want a location to dump, not necessarily because of they're going to get the help getting it out of the truck or doing anything that goes with that. I mean, not because there's a structure place where to do it, but because there's a place to do it. So to me, having it close a few days or having the area or the place closed a few days goes against the grain, against what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to stop dumping over in farmland or things like that. So having it closed having somebody taking care of it is a good idea. It's an excellent idea, having some control. But you gotta weigh that against the fact that people are dumping everywhere. So you tell them, okay, well, this is available, but it's only available on Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That kind of makes it so that it's not as convenient as I would like it to be. But, I mean, it's structure. It's just structure versus non-structure.
I think eventually we'll get there, but I'm just saying either we want 5 positions right now or we want 3. And being so close to the fiscal year, I think we can put that in the budget and say, well, we'll have more days open beginning in July.
I go back to the road to hell's way with good intentions. I mean,
well,
we're gonna try.
we don't have it right now.
We don't have anything.
It's or we it's a
It's a good try. It's a
yeah.
good start.
So it's a good start. I mean, at least
Definitely a
it'll
good
be
start.
there and so it's a good start and we'll see how it works and then we'll make a decision.
Okay.
Now on the fees, I think you all. I mean, I've been talking about it for many years. I will say that it wouldn't be fair to start charging right now. I mean, honestly, it's just not. Because I mean, we open up a new position. Yeah, new site, and we're gonna start charging. I've been talking about this. I just want to make sure that the board knows that it's something. As tipping fees get more expensive, it's something that will, what all we have going, it's something that are we gonna be able to sustain it, 5, 6 years down the road. So just something to think. I mean, it doesn't have to be $5. It could be $2 at the beginning, but we start putting a fee because eventually it'll get to the point that it's going to be hard to manage to sustain.
Would you like us to come back with a fee structure
And
or a couple
can
of
I don't know
options?
if we've asked this already from other counties what they charge and who charges what counties.
Yeah, we have that.
I know. I think we've asked that before, and I'm pretty much we're the only county that is free.
Yes, we are.
So take advantage. No, just nah.
Okay.
But yeah, just an amount of what they charge or an average. See what.
Okay.
So that would be. Any other questions for Kelly? Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to planning and zoning agenda. Full legal descriptions of the property sites for the rezoning cases are available for public review at the Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. Expedited rezoning and public hearing. This item will be open as a group for public hearing and acted upon by one motion to adopt the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, except for any item that is removed by the board member for separate discussion. That item will be discussed and acted upon separately following action on an expedited item. And we only have item number 1, special use permit case number 25-18.
I move we approve it on a expedited rezoning.
Chairman?
I do have I gotta open the
Gotta open the
public hearing, so obviously no questions, and I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. And seeing no one from the public, I'll bring it back to the board, close the public hearing, and bring it back for a motion.
I'll move to approve special use permit case number 2518 on expedited process.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on special use to approve special use case number 25-18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to rezoning. regular public hearing items. Staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. Item number 1, text amendment case number 25-02.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, presenting text amendment case number 25-02. This is a text amendment to the Yuma County zoning ordinance to adopt regulations for accessory dwelling units by amending sections 202, definitions, and section 310.00, accessory dwelling unit, and adding accessory dwelling units as permitted uses in sections listed on the slide, and removing accessory dwelling units require a special use permit from the section listed also on the slide. The intent of the proposed text amendment is to comply with the changes to Arizona revised statutes approved by House Bill 2928, adding errors 11-810.01. The bill was signed by the governor on May 23, 2025, and will become effective from and after December 31st, 2025. ARS 11-810.01G states, if a county fails to adopt development regulations as required by this section on or before January 1st, 2026, accessory dwelling units shall be allowed on all lots or parcels zoned for residential use in the county without limits. The proposed changes are shown below. Text that is a strike-through format is intended to be deleted, and text in bold font is proposed new text to be added. I will go through the slides, and if you need me to stop and want to ask questions, please do so. And at this point, the Planning Commission recommends approval of text amendment 25-02, and staff is ready to answer questions.
It gets us in compliance with state law.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Yep.
Any other questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we,
I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. And I do have a speaker form for, all right? Oh, it's the next one? Okay.
Nope, you've already committed to that one.
I said you had a chance, you
Okay, seeing, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the case as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve text amendment case number 25-02 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, text amendment case number 25-03. Mr. Barraza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting text amendment case number 25-03. This is a text amendment to the Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 1106.01, cargo containers, to consider allowing cargo containers as accessory uses in residential zoning districts without the approval of a special use permit, allowing more than one cargo container in residential zoning districts, allowing cargo containers to be stacked, and allowing cargo containers for human occupancy. I will just go to the next slide. The text that is proposed to be deleted is strike-through font, and text that is proposed to be added is in bold font. Same fashion, if you want me to stop at the slides to ask questions, otherwise I will just, this is the proposed.
Wow.
Planning Commission recommends approval of text amendment case number 25-03. Staff, that concludes staff's presentation. I'm ready to answer any questions.
Let me ask a question. A question. I mean, when I look at that change, it seems to me like you did add every other zoning category. I mean, it seems like now cargo containers are going to be allowed almost everywhere, at least once or two. And now they could be allowed if they're fixed to have people live on them. They'll be allowed if people live on it without a special use permit. Is that what I?
Yes.
Is that in summary?
Mr. Chairman, Member Tony Reyes, that is correct. They will need to apply for permits at this time, so when they apply, they want to turn a cargo container into a dwelling, they will need to apply for a building permit. They will need to comply with all the building codes and zoning.
And it would still fall under the 50% coverage of the lot, as well as any, my concern with it is the fact that you start getting too high with containers as far as making them residences, and the outside as far, as far as aesthetic looks when you start getting them in residential areas as a second dwelling? How are they going to look? Is this a rusted out container, when they've just cut doors in it or whatever, as long as we have control of that?
Mr. Chairman, in that respect, they will need to comply with building codes, engineering, all required, so they're gonna have structurally be sound before approved. Also, cargo containers will need to be painted in neutral colors, not just the original cargo container colors. So it's pretty intense, the review that we're gonna do on these units. But all of them will require building permits, so we can make sure they comply with zoning regulations as well as building codes.
Let me ask you something, because I'm reading here, containers are designed to use storage and appear to be cargo containers, yet do not meet specifications for commercial shipping, packing, or transportation of freight, shall comply with the requirement of this section. The requirements of the section are different. They're like for living. They're not for shipping anymore, are they? So the requirements that you're talking about are not requirements for it to be used as a cargo container. They're requirements for it to be used for human.
Yes.
Is that correct? Occupancy.
Yeah, once if it looks or appears to be a cargo container, it'll be considered that. But once it's placed on a property, that's what this will do, allow it to be placed on a property. They probably will remain its in original state as a cargo container, depending on what they want to do. But yeah, this is what this text amendment does to allow it without the special use permit.
So we're talking about human occupancy. Those containers that are set aside for human occupancy need to meet certain requirements that are not really required of cargo containers. Is that more or less the intent?
The intent of to allow it is like they're currently, if they want to apply for turn a cargo container into a dwelling, they can do it, but they will need a variance. Now this will remove that, but they still need to comply with building codes.
I get it. Is this driven by state law, or is it driven by our
No,
desire to?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, this was initiated by a resident that mentioned, let me go to the slide.
Yeah, no.
Some Yuma County residents and district stakeholders have indicated that they feel that current regulations are outdated and no longer reflect modern usage trends. Specifically, they raised concerns regarding what is listed in the slide. This is what was initiated, this text amendment. It's been on the works for a year and 8 months or so.
Right now, all they have to do is get a special use permit, and they can do the same thing that we're talking about. And all we're going to do is take away the board's authority to do a special use permit for that and allow them to just do it, put one on their property and just use planning and zoning, correct?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Pancracio, that is correct. Currently, they will, if they want to do it in certain residential zone districts, they will need a special use permit. There are some zoning districts that allow cargo containers, like suburban ranch 2-acre minimum, local, regional, general commercial, and industrial. They need to in order to have one on smaller lots. Without it, but one of the things that we're proposing is to limit it to by area. We have a smaller lots that will allow, let's say, a combined area of 400 square feet. In bigger lots, they will be allowed to have 800 square feet, and even bigger lots up to 1,600 square feet of cargo containers. They will still need to comply with zoning regulations and building codes. So they're now required to have a building permit applied for if this gets approved. We'll still be regulating that. They still need to also to conform with certain monocolors. It won't be the original color as mentioned, or they need to match the color of the residence. So even if they cannot, if they exceed any zoning regulations, they can still have the recourse of applying for a variance to exceed, let's say, lot coverage or setbacks. But still, a board will be reviewing that if it comes down to that.
So basically, a lot that is small, it might get a container that it's, if it has the space like a 400 just for a storage shed. So there's still gonna be some regulations, not just, it's not a open season for cargo containers and set them. So there's still regulations.
I was a little concerned that this would be like a Wild West type situation where everybody could have containers that are up to the edge, or containers. They have to follow a certain rules and regulations. This isn't like the ag exemption, for example, which allows agriculture-related issues to do anything without any. This is not like that. This still allows us to take a look at those containers, take a look at where they're at, take a look at how much space they occupy and how they seem to be. Right? It still allows a certain amount of regulation.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, that is correct. They will still need to go through review by building safety and planning and zoning.
All right, I'm okay with that. I just don't like the look in your face. You look worried and concerned, so.
Sorry,
and-
can I hear what was that?
I mean,
I'm just kidding, just kidding.
I mean, this, you've got businesses out there that build these specifically for homes and set them up to be regular facilities. My biggest concern is just you start allowing the containers in certain areas, like you have just throwing Mesa del Sol, and then you got somebody that wants to stack containers in the middle of that, and then it just, or any residential area, because the two stacked containers, they're gonna be higher than the surrounding residences. It just, as long as we've got some control over that to where it doesn't start making our neighborhoods look like storage facilities.
For, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Simmons, for the height, if they don't exceed the height limit of the zoning district they're gonna be placed on, they still need to, for let's say they wanna be a stack, they still need to comply with engineering. Cannot be just, still be a building permit required, see if they withstand, I don't know, wind or,
Yeah.
they're still gonna be reviewed.
Yeah. Like I said, I know that, you've got some of these containers that have been fixed up very nicely. I mean, they look like a regular facility or a regular residential structure. It's just the ones that worry me are the ones that we don't have control over. But if we, if there's rules in place governing that, I'm a little bit more at ease with it.
Yeah. For instance, on the cargo containers, it will be a requirement. They, once installed, they got 15 days to paint it to a monocolor or match the color of the house. So it kind of matches there. It doesn't just,
Mr. Chair.
yeah, clashes with with the neighborhood.
Trying to keep people in compliance, we've had issues with that already, and as far as, okay, you get 15 days to paint it, and then you don't do that, and so then it takes us 30 days to get back out there, and then you give them a warning, and then they still don't paint it, and to me, it causes a lot of grief for a lot of people. So, and for the supervisor who has to deal with that. So what's wrong with the way it is now? Maggie?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Pankersy, staff, the only reason that this is before you is that staff received a request that this section of the zoning ordinance be amended. So the current zoning ordinance only allows one cargo container on residential properties with the approval of a special use permit. The higher density residential zoning districts do not allow cargo containers at this time. Again, for those properties that were allowed to have one cargo container, they could also have the option of applying for a variance to have more than one cargo container. With this text amendment, all properties, all residential and commercial properties can now have cargo containers by right. They are limited as far as the square footage. I think the the higher density residential zoning districts here we go.
I do want to make a
The
statement. This is a permissive.
R1, R2, MHP, RVS, RVP, they can have a maximum of 400 square feet covered by cargo containers. The R1, R2, R3, like I said, in those zoning districts, cargo containers were not allowed other than with the approval of a special use permit.
And a variance, and we can still, so they could still, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, they could still have more than one cargo container with a variance. They could still have at least one cargo container in most areas. So I'm having a hard time with,
May
okay.
I?
Like, Supervisor Simmons mentioned Mesa del Sol. I guarantee it's 400 square feet if they want to put one in there. And it's basically, they still got to have the setbacks and everything. So it's not just, oh yeah, I'm going to bring one and put it in. And it'll be basically a 400 square foot container. It's like a storage shed.
I know.
So,
I do want to say something regarding containers, and then that is that the problem that we had in the past is that every time you needed a variance is not a way to go for anything. A variance is a very specific requirement that it has to be something that you cannot control. And a container is controllable. You can move it in and out. So a variance is not the right tool to fix this problem, as I see it. This is a better tool, but I just wanted to know that there were some requirements that had to be followed, some regulations that had to be followed. But I didn't want to leave containers to the variance process. The variance process is a very specific process. If I know it cannot be, it has to be something that's out of the control of the owner. And like I said, containers are not. So to me, this is a good step. I just want to make sure that we didn't completely let it be like the Wild West, where there's no regulations at all. There's a limit. There's a 800-foot limit on containers. We just changed it to where they can be, and that is of help sometimes. I don't think it leads to a whole area becoming a container situation without the county having any say in it. That's why I refer to the ag extension as a problem, because they can build apartments without us even knowing, because it's an ag exemption for people who have a permit. So I'm okay with the change. I just want to make sure that there's still regulations that apply to it. And I see some of it here. And I think it's enough to make sure that they just don't happen, spread like wildfire.
How many of these type of special use permits do you guys get a year? Or do you see where people are wanting to do this type of?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Simmons, we did not have a lot of requests, maybe a handful of requests. But like I said, there was a property owner that came forward and petitioned the Planning Commission to look into this change to the zoning ordinance. And then that's how staff drafted the changes that are before you.
How will the new regulations dealing with accessory dwellings, how will this fall into that? Since it could be considered an accessory dwelling now.
Mr. Chairman, if Supervisor Simmons, if somebody intends on using a cargo container and converting it into a dwelling unit, it has to meet the same regulations as accessory dwelling units. So they would have to comply with the ADU regulations.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, you can open it.
Is there somebody comment? Oh, you got to open up the public hearing.
Any more questions? Any more questions for Angie?
No?
Maggie, I'm sorry.
You can relax. Angie. Angie, you can relax now. Nobody knows you, Maggie.
None? All right. Thank you, Maggie.
You're welcome.
I'll move it. I'll open up the public hearing, and I do have a speaker form for Aaron.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have to push the button. Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this was born out of a request from a lot of people in the county to be able to have a container on right on their property. If you look closely to the slide, there's several different requirements, and I know some people said stacking at Mesa del Sol, that wouldn't be allowed anyway because of the square foot of their lots and because of the minimum acreage requirement for stacking is on section 5. I can't switch it back, but this has been going back and forth between staff and the community for well over a year now. I've spoken about it several times at Planning and Zoning as well as here, and you've heard from several other people in the community that are creating these office buildings and possible housing units speak on this issue as well. There are a lot of people that could use this, and if you think of a storage container as just a more secure way to have 320 square feet of storage on your property, you cannot do anything different with this than you could have before by adding 3 or 4 sheds from Home Depot. The problem we have in the foothills is things are broken into all the time out there on center visitor lots. This will help preclude that extremely. There are so many people that have had storage sheds broken into, and you can contact the sheriff about this, and I'm sure even Supervisor Simmons can speak to that in the past. This will add security to the lot. We've worked tirelessly to make sure that they're required to be painted and that that's part of the approval process as well, and that they only have a certain number of days from the time it's on the ground until the time it looks better. So I believe after a year's worth of work back and forth between us and staff and their tireless work on this, we are more in compliance with the rest of the state and the other counties in the state, as well as being able to keep the cost down for our residents, because a special use permit, I mean, a variance is over $750 and they're almost never granted. I've had the opportunity to speak in front of the board and received one on a different parcel, but that process is very difficult and cumbersome for most residents to use to get something as simple as a 320 square foot shed. I think it's the right way for the community to go. And as far as the accessory dwelling unit issue, they would still have to comply with everything else. What we're trying to say now is several other communities in Arizona have turned cargo containers into apartment complexes, small units, and even ADUs. And currently the regulations say they are not allowed for human occupancy. So that was a specific reason we removed that, was to get us more in compliant with Phoenix and other areas that are currently using these. And also, honestly, it'll really help address our low-income housing crisis that we have in the county. So I think for all of those reasons, I would say that this is finally at a stage that it should be approved by the board, and I think it would be very beneficial to the community as a whole. Questions for me?
No? Any questions for Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, people move out in the county because they think they're going to get away from a lot of the regulations that apply to cities. Cargo containers have been a sticking thorn in my side since I became a supervisor because they are so complex to deal with by everybody. So to me, simplifying the process, making sure that people know what they get when they look at the regulations, it's part of just being who we are. So I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve the recommendation, the commission's recommendation on text amendment case number 2503.
I will second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? On none, on text amendment case number 25-03. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, rezoning case number 25-17.
Richard Munguia, Senior Planner. The applicant has withdrawn his case. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, so.
Well, you got off easy.
Save the best for last.
This is an easy one. So we move on.
So
ignore it, move on.
Move on to discussion regarding legislative issues. And we have Alejandro.
He went the long way.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs for Yuma County. We'll start this special presentation by our lobbyist, professional lobbyist, Alexis Sosdorf from State 48 Public Affairs. She has done a great job for the county, and she'd like to present to the board today a legislative update and the outlook for next year.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the board, invited guests, the very few that are left for the most important part. As mentioned, Alexis Sosdorf. I've had the pleasure of now representing you all at our state capitol over the last year, and just really proud of the successes that we've shown. And Alejandro's been a fantastic leader in this work, and really enjoyed getting to know and work with each of you as we now embark on the start of our next legislative session, which is wild to think because we just wrapped up at the end of June this year. And as you know, we have been really enjoying really marathon legislative sessions. They should get out a lot sooner, but all that to be said, we're gearing up and we're starting again. So Monday, January 12th is when the fun begins. That's the first day of our legislative session. As many of you are well aware, the first day is really the celebratory. Governor does her State of the State address. Members invite their family and guests. Kind of a fun day for them to kick off a pretty brutal couple months ahead. That first week is pretty busy on bills dropping, and then Friday of that first week is when we see the governor drop her version of the state budget, which is really the start of the budget negotiation season. The other big deadline, there's a plethora of deadlines, but these are the ones that are really, really key that we really feel the pressure, and you all will probably feel and see the pressure associated with these deadlines. Friday, February 20th is the last day for bills to be heard in their committee chamber of origin, meaning House bills heard in House committees, Senate bills heard in Senate committees. This is the deadline where we have some clarity on what bills still exist that we need to work on or make go away or advance. The appropriations committees do have an exception. They get one extra week to meet. The other key deadline, which this is really the deadline I usually celebrate most, is Friday, March 27th. This is the opposite bills in committees. So Senate bills in House committees, House bills in Senate committees. Again, appropriations does get one extra week to meet, which typically means that one extra week is when they have a very, very long appropriations committee agenda with efforts to revive all these bills that died at some point in the legislative process, bills that probably should have gone away originally, but they want to give them one last effort through a strike everything amendment. So, and then Tuesday, April 21st, 100th day of session. That's always a marker that has not been achieved for a very long time with the COVID exception. We, again, have been experiencing our late June sessions now for several years, but I remain hopeful, and I hope you all say a prayer that we get finished around that 100th day session ballpark this year. So House and Senate leadership, we have consistent leadership. I point out two highlighted sections for you. One on the left side to me is Representative Michael Carbone. I point this out. He's the House Majority Leader. He's also the legislator serving a portion of Yuma County, so definitely one for us to stay close with given his role in leadership. The other one I highlighted, it happened at the end of session, so just want to make you aware that the Senate does have a new Majority Leader. Senator John Kavanaugh replaced Janae Shamp. The other element, just to add, I say President Peterson will remain for now. He is in a race for Secretary of State, and rumors have been rampant the last several months that he may step down from that seat to really stay focused on his race for Attorney General, But for now, he's still there, but that is just the rumor I want to say. It's not just me saying, it's been a rumor all over the Capitol news column, yellow sheet and such. So that we could see potentially some changes there, which really could change the dynamic of the Senate substantially should that come to fruition. I mentioned Janae Shamp. The change of Janae Shamp with John Kavanaugh created a little bit of musical chairs in the committee chairmanship, which does impact our work. Specifically, the Appropriations Committee, which was previously filled by Mr. Kavanaugh, is now being served by David Farnsworth. And then Hildy Angus, who's a name that some of you may be familiar with because she's a former Mojave County supervisor. She is now serving as the Education Committee chair. So just a little chairmanship changes that appropriations specifically will be something that does impact our work. David Farnsworth is fantastic to work with, so I look forward to a good year ahead with him. So legislative groundswell. We have pre-filing of bills did start on November 15th, and so it's just been a couple of weeks. And thus far, I wrote it down, we have 26 bills filed and then 8 memorials and resolutions filed. So we've got about 1,600 to 1,800 to go. That's typically the amount and volume we've seen at our Capitol. I would say the issue that stood out to me thus far is the most popular of all of those 34 bills, resolutions, and memorials dropped has to do with elections. There's a variety of elections-related bills. HCR 2001 and then SCR 1001, those are mirrored bills revived from last year dealing with changes in the election process. I do note those because they are referrals, meaning if they did pass the legislature, they go to the ballot, they are voted on by the people, and then they are voter protected. So a little bit of a different process. The crux of these bills, just to sort of remind you, because we dealt with these last year, there is inclusion of a foreign money ban, so contributions from foreign individuals or corporations to any candidate or ballot measure are prohibited. It changes the early voting deadline, requiring all ballots to be cast by 7 p.m. the Friday before Election Day. No ballots to be cast after polls close. The new requirement to vote in person at convenient polling locations, and people are sort of dissecting what convenient means. And then lastly, the big provision is voters using mail ballots must confirm their preferred ballot delivery address each election year. So I think this will be a topic that is dialogued quite a bit at our Capitol. House Bill 2001 is a piece of legislation, and that's just narrowed to the requirement that ballots be cast 7 p.m. The Friday before Election Day, really trying to address those late early issues. The other two I looked this morning on the elections that have been pre-filed thus far are House Bill 2006, which changes the requirement for sample ballot mailing to be sent 14 days as opposed to 11 days before, which is current law. And then House Bill 2022, which moves the primary date to the last Tuesday in July, which is something that we've supported and the County Supervisor Association supported. It does change 5 calendar days versus business days, which is existing law, for the county recorder to allow signature corrections. And then lastly, the bill authorizes party chair or designee at voting locations. So by far, the biggest topic thus far for bills filed is election issues. So we'll work closely with you all and your staff to understand and dissect those and inform you all about the impacts to the county. I fully anticipate the continued sort of local permitting and zoning preemptions that we've seen themes of the last several years. We continue to anticipate instant solar permitting to be something that we work on. Thankfully, we'll sort of have a response to some solar consumer protection issues, so we're working closely with the County Supervisors Association on that legislation. Housing, there's always been a significant number of housing preemption-related bills preempting local planning and zoning decisions. Typically, the flavors have been more city-focused, but sometimes counties are included in that and have been, so something we'll look out for. I say energy as well, working through just some legislation from last session dealing with energy preemptions on cities and counties. So we'll keep you informed, but some of those themes we anticipate will continue this year. let's see, water. That is going to probably consume most of the energy at the Capitol, specifically dealing with Colorado River, which I know directly impacts you. So I will be your line to communication on the latest associated with that, as well as just the continued movement on trying to develop some rural groundwater protection legislation. Short-term rental fights, this is something that we can already start to see heating up. Trying to develop, pull back some legislation over previous years, preempting cities and counties from regulating the number of short-term rentals. We're seeing some communities like Sedona and such that are just getting hammered with so many short-term rentals, and so there's a lot of dialogue on how they can responsibly pull that back. And then lastly, we are in for a really, really tricky budget year. Budget cuts and shortfalls. Everyone is definitely anticipating a very challenging budget cycle. There's the dialogue in our state conforming with some of the federal tax changes. There's cuts associated with that. So there's just a lot of dialogue on how we approach that, dialogue on what funding is actually available, and how do we spend those funds. So a couple things I just want to put on your plate that I think about on a day-to-day basis now that we're approaching session. Are we going to have a short session or a long session? It is election year, so typically history tells us that election year results in legislators wanting to get done sooner and get it out in their community, although the long session has been really the theme the last several years, almost decades. So we will see if the election year trend will maintain and we will see a shorter session, although I have zero hope that we'll be able to get done, especially given the tricky budget year. Inter-party fighting continue. We usually see a little bit more camaraderie in an election year, given they're going to have to work together to maintain a chamber or take over a chamber. And so I'm just kind of curious. We've seen a lot of inter-party sort of eating their own. My curiosity is if we see that continue or maybe a little bit more camaraderie through the legislative session. The other big question, and I think it's making people nervous, is will the governor veto in the high volume she has during an election year? So we've been seeing 150 vetoes last year, 145 her first year in session. I think there's just a lot of questions. Being an election year, is she going to make a different approach to vetoes? That's just sort of the big question mark out there. Is she going to be less heavy-handed in vetoes, knowing that she's got to win a certain voter block this big election year? Or will she continue that trend of, I don't support this policy, I don't care the consequences in my election? Big question mark everyone has. And then less money, does that mean it's easier or more difficult to pass a budget? You all pass budgets, so you understand, but I think, they say more money, more problems. The last several years, they've been flush with money, and it's been trickier as a result because their approach to passing a budget has not always been supported by everyone, but they've got less money to work with this year. They've got tax conformity issues. So will it help? And hey, we don't have the ability to give you guys an earmark pot this year, so you're just gonna have to show some party camaraderie and vote together? Or will they say, I have an expectation that in years past, I was allotted X amount for my earmark project, and so my expectation is I get that this year as well, and that's how you get my vote on the budget. So just a lot of considerations out there. And I think that was my last slide. My cell phone, email, always happy to be a resource to you all.
I have a question.
I'll turn it back over to Alejandro.
I have a question, Alexis. Alexis, yeah. I have a question. Have you heard anything from anybody regarding a tax, a gas tax, or something that changes the gas tax? Because we're getting into a situation here that we're going to have to be lobbying publicly for a gas tax. And I want to know if the state legislatures, anyone even mentioned the possibility of changing the gas tax. It hasn't changed in, I think, 40 years.
Yep, Mr. Chair and Supervisor Reyes. No shortage of dialogue on that topic. I think limited political appetite to do it.
That's what I thought. So that's state. Were you going to deal with the federal stuff? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Alexis. That's all I had.
Alexis? No? Thank you, Alexis. Thank you.
Chairman, before I move on into the next section of the agenda item, I'd like to touch upon the federal component of the update. During the last board meeting a couple of weeks ago, Supervisor Reyes asked for more information on earmarks or congressionally directed spending, CDS. So to provide some background, earmarks were reinstated in 2021, and this is the first time they've been enacted under President Trump. They allow members of Congress to request funding for specific projects in their districts. In the latest Continuing Appropriations Act, earmarks are allowed in three big areas: agriculture and rural development, military, construction, and veteran affairs, and the legislative branch. And once Congress passes the remaining appropriations bills, hopefully by January 30th of next year, earmarks will also be allowed in the rest of the major federal funding areas. So across these bills, the general funding buckets, earmarks can support things like rural water and wastewater projects, broadband and telemedicine, community facilities, including public safety infrastructure, conservation and agricultural research, military and BA facilities. Just wanted to make sure I cover that because that was a question posed during the last board meeting.
Question, is any of this heading to another shutdown on January the 30th?
Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, there's a possibility they'll have to, if they don't agree to the remaining appropriation bills, they will probably have to do another continuing resolution, if that doesn't happen by January 30th of next year, yes.
Okay. I mean, is there anything specific to the area other than agriculture and some of the issues? I mean, we have a military, we have a large military presence in the area, and we have, obviously, agriculture is our largest. Is there anything that you see in the allocations that are directly related to Yuma?
Not at the moment. I would say broadband, obviously, and any rural water and wastewater projects that we may have could be benefiting from CRS right now, or CDS, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sure you're going to get to report a little bit on the construction of the new port of entry. So I'm going to leave it at that until I hear a little bit from you about the new port of.
Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, I do not have a report on the port of entry unless you have specific questions.
Well, the question I specifically have is what's going to happen in the Mexican side? I keep hearing that the budget is in the budget for 2026. I keep hearing that I don't see much happening across the border that matches what we're doing in this side, which leads me to believe that we're going to end up in a situation where we're ready for them and they're not ready for us.
Supervisor Reyes, that is very much a possibility. As far as I'm concerned, the Mexican federal budget that the President Sheinbaum proposed does not include any funding as of right now for the Mexican portion of the port of entry. She has mentioned it during her briefings or press briefings she has every morning that she'll have money for it, but it's not in writing right now. So yes, we are, it's quite a difficult one right now.
In the joint meeting that we had with the city of San Luis, we were told that they were scheduled to finish in 2028. Well, that's a mistake. They should be ready in 2026, but they also told us they cannot do anything that doesn't follow GSA rules. And GSA rules is the scheduled time to finish the project is 2028, and I'm sure that the Mexican government in some ways relates to that a little more than they think. And I've seen the progress, physically the progress that they have made in making sure that the exit to Mexico is done. But I don't see anything in the Mexican side that reflects that. And I think it's because everybody assumes that it's going to be ending in 2028, but 2028 is just a wrap-up. It's not really the date. They expect to be ready in 2026, early 2026. So I'm a little concerned that we're going to end up with a massive project on this side that has no companion on the Mexican side.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Alejandro?
Mr. Chairman, if I may now proceed into the Yuma County State Legislative Principles that we're proposing, staff is proposing for the board's review and possible approval. I don't know if we can have them on the screen. It's an attachment to the agenda item. Thank you, Amber. So they're pretty much the same as last year's. We added a few, with the help of Alexis, we added a few components or items to this. I would like to highlight especially the illegal dumping issue, number 9, that you were discussing earlier today. We hope to advocate for, any legislation that addresses the issue. Also, we're bringing up biosolids. We're looking into the fire code. And I'd also like to highlight highlight item 21, advocating for accurate and consistent property tax assessments of large-scale energy developments to protect Yuma County's fiscal stability. I'd like to share with the public that the Board of Supervisors is planning to send a letter in regards to this issue to the Department of Revenue, hoping to get some clarification on some of the reassessed properties and renewable energy projects that have been reassessed and have impacted the general fund. But as I said before, this is pretty much the same as last year, adding a few items relevant to what we agreed to or what the CSA Board of Directors approved this year in support of Yuma County, and hopefully we get some traction for next legislative session. This document serves as a guideline for staff and Alexis going forward, and so yeah, I'll leave it at that and open it up to questions if you have any, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Alejandro?
As a comment, it's a nice level format. Is there something specific other than the fact that you mentioned that we need to focus our attention on?
Supervisor Reyes, no, not right now. This is more for the board's approval, just to make sure we are covering every single base that the board considers, important matter.
You have a presentation like this, we cannot manage. I cannot see the end of it. So you have to roll it 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. So I tried it.
I'm moving it.
You're moving it?
Yeah, you want it more down?
Oh, I want to see where it ends. I mean, I'd like to get a copy of it. If there's a point there, I'd like to get a copy of it. It's pretty extensive. Yeah, I scroll it. I try to scroll it. There you go, like that. And it moves a little, so I do. Who's moving it? Who's moving it? You moving it? Well, we'd like to print it and get us a copy of it. It's pretty important because I think it drives what we do as a county in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And it's like a plan, but without knowing what. But let me give you an example. Supported state incentives, number 8, supported state incentives such as the Housing Trust Fund and low-income housing tax credits to promote greater affordability options in the county. Now that requires that somebody from the county take a little more active view of what we do to support that, because that's already kind of happening at the state, but the answers that we get as a nonprofit housing, which I don't have a conflict of interest because I'm not gaining anything, but the statement they make about not supporting one county every year, not giving a project to the county every year, they broke their own rule. They have given the city of Yuma 3 years in a row low-income tax credits. So how does that work? So none of the stuff, some of the stuff that we don't get involved in low-income tax funding. We don't get involved in tax credits. We don't get involved in anything that has to do with affordability other than what we do through zoning. So I like to see what our policies are and who's going to handle some of them. Because it's a document, but I don't see, I mean, there should be an action plan with this. So we should choose what we're going to do. How many, I can't see how many items we have in this. Okay, well, when I get it, I'll comment.
Can you email that to us?
I can't.
The agenda
Yeah, it's
pack.
the 16th, when it's long-term planning, I expected to see a lot of that stuff anyway. A lot of stuff is long-term planning, but when you get a chance, just print it for me or send it in my email so I can see it, okay? Then I'll be able to comment.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Supervisor, I'll just add, it's really helpful to have the sort of expansive amount for workflow. So how Alejandro and I have been doing it with staff is, we'll see a bill, we'll flag it, we'll kind of interpret it, we'll review this document and see how it aligns, and then at which point we will kind of fish it out to staff, get sort of that operational administrative feedback, and then determine if it's in alignment with this, a position. So it is helpful from a workflow. There is 1,600 to 1,800 pieces of legislation, as mentioned, so, and they are vast. So there is some element on here of some bill out there based on sort of the historical lens that helps us decipher how we act or how we seek to you all to say, here's a piece of legislation, this might be of concern. We might want to oppose it. We don't take a position on everything. There's sort of political reasons we might decide not to weigh on a legislation, or County Supervisor Association is taking the lead and sort of taking the heat. So there's definitely some discretion associated with it, but it is helpful because every single one of these areas is something happening at the Capitol at this point in time. So I will just sort of share that with you, and it is helpful from a workflow perspective, and it's how it drives what Alejandro and I do day to day. But you know, the desire to narrow it significantly and work on sort of less topic areas, always welcomed, right? But at the end of the day, everything touches counties, right? Pretty much every bill out there, I could see some sort of nexus into the work that you do or the impact to your citizens. And so that's the considerations that we take when sort of reviewing legislation, and whether we take a public position or we meet privately with the legislator to say, you might want to amend this a little bit. It'll make it, you know, more efficient, more operational, better outcome for the citizens of Yuma County. So I will say that umbrella of citizen of Yuma County is really what drives a lot of this, making sure it is the best outcomes for the citizens. So I just wanted to ensure that color of workflow on how we do the day-to-day at the Capitol with the 1,600 to 1,800 bills that are in front of us.
Okay, I want to mention two things. One is federal, one is state. One is EPA's PM designation, which they removed Yuma County from, which was a lot of work and a lot of years talking about it. And the other one is probably more the, not the dumping issues, because I think state and federal get involved in that, but more like, okay, what do we do with issues that have county level impact, but I'll give you one. Solar. Solar is, you know, if they can't get their permits through us, they'll try to go to the legislature and get it preemptively, so that we have less and less decision power on solar. And solar has turned out to be not the boon they said initially, in terms of sales, in terms of property tax, excuse me, for some of the districts. We were talking about it last time, about how do we get the refunds back? Do we pay for them? Do we get them from? Those kind of issues, I think, they go to the legislature when they can't get whatever they want at the local level. And the legislature needs to know that we dealt with them before, and they don't work out as they seem sometimes. So having someone make those points in a private level, it's good for us. So I like what I see. As a matter of fact, I like the fact that we have like a list of items we will focus on. Now, what I wanted to do is sort of have an action plan that goes with it. Not the long term, because I found out the 16th of December is when we meet to talk about long-term finances. But the short term with the legislature is that they will do, these people that are not getting through us, they're going to try to do everything they can at the legislature. We have to be careful that we don't let them just drive the car. And thank you, Alexis, for that great presentation. And thank you, Alejandro, for taking some of these federal issues on. But together with this, we're gonna need an action plan. We're gonna need who's handling what to be able to have an impact. Otherwise, it's just a document. So thank you very much.
We may want to look at trying to get the state to let the county set the property tax on solar instead of the state, because that's what's really screwed us up, was the fact that the state has the authority to set it, and they've set it way too high. And if the consequences doesn't come back on them, it comes back on the county and the people that live in the county. So, you know, we may need to look at letting the county set the tax rate for anything within our county, so we don't run into that problem again. Or if we do, it's our fault, it's not theirs.
It's called home rule. We've been trying to get it since I remember being a supervisor. Anytime they feel like it, they'll sweep HARF, they'll sweep the stuff that we consider to be part of the county's actions. And for that, in lieu of that, we get some taxes, which they control themselves. So at the end of the day, we have to admit we're just an arm of the state, and when the state wants to pull that arm back, we got little to say. But whenever they want to extend the arm, then it's us. So we'd like to, maybe we ought to just go and say, well, we need some home rule here. We need to be a little more in charge of our destiny. Maybe that's what we ought to do in general. But right now, I see 20, I don't see the 20-somethings, but there should be 20.
Like they said, as they come up, they'll be addressed.
Okay, got it. Thank you both.
Anything else? Alejandro? Good?
Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro and Alexis. Moving on to event calendars and current events. Thank you, Lynn. Go ahead. Turn on your micro.
I attended the joint meeting in San Luis. I attended the planning meeting for CSA. I attended the CSA learning session on water law and policy. I attended the board of directors meetings, and it was my very last meeting as president of CSA. Woo-hoo! And I attended the ACO board of directors meetings the next day, and I went to the employee open house, grand opening here, and I met with Ian.
That's it?
That's it, guys. Woo.
Monday, the 17th, I hosted the chair of the Corporation Commission and meetings with a few different constituents. We actually did discuss the railway crossings where they have limited involvement and limited oversight. Participated in the joint meeting with San Luis that same evening. Helped the youth from my church do a food drive, and the Yuma Community Food Bank was a recipient of that food. Had a meeting with President Peterson after a WIFA board meeting, and then made it back just in time for the Binational Aerospace Summit welcome reception. I just wanted to commend Alejandro and any of the other staff that worked with him on that for their fine work in moving that forward. Next day, participated in an open house with Arizona Western College to look at their new apartments or resident housing on site, and how much that has enhanced the college experience in our region, and how we are getting more and more kids from outside of the region coming in to participate. Participated with the Amberley's Place board meeting, and then also participated with the chairman in a coordinated meetings regarding the state lands, the biosolids, and regional stakeholder challenges. So I didn't hardly do anything.
Thank you.
My turn, huh? Mainly just a bunch of different meetings with constituents in my area talking about some issues we're trying to get addressed. And Attended the Caballeros tree lighting of Friendship Tower Saturday, and they did another great job with that. Everybody seemed to really enjoy it. That's it.
I will start by saying that it's been, first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody that's still celebrating Thanksgiving and still buying. Today is the last day, so go out and get as much as you can. That joint meeting with the City Council in San Luis, an eye-opener to me about the plans the city has. Those are big plans for a small city that they have. And it was surprising to me, first of all, because they're thinking of how to solve that problem that's been ever in the city of San Luis, which is when the people want to go to Mexico and split up the city in two. Now, that's a new one for me, that levy program that they come up with. But I guess I just haven't looked at it that way. The second thing is there's a Greater Yuma Port Authority, which I was hoping Alejandro would remain to talk about a little bit. We had a large meeting, a planning meeting that essentially to me needs to address the fact that the city of Yuma is back into play in the Greater Yuma Port Authority and that they're having a lot of say. The chairman right now is Ross Jones, which to me was a little surprising because we had the chairman that was Matias Rosales, and I thought the county's term to be the chairman was with Alejandro. So anyway, to make a long story short, that is more or less the busiest time of the year. We had a vision group meeting. So there's a lot of stuff happening in South County. The reception for the transfer station was great. I got a lot of comments, good comments out of that one. And again, we keep talking about it. We'll talk about it during December 16, I think, and over the long term about what the impact will have, over our operations over the next 10 years. On a personal level, which I don't want to get too much into, it's been a long weekend full of, which made me realize that not having a dealership for your car in town makes it very difficult to get parts for it. So, having said that, I'll turn it over to the chairman so he can finish it up.
Thank you, Tony. We missed you this morning.
I know. I'm driving a rental car.
Mr. Chairman, I want to apologize too for missing the last meeting and the San Luis meeting.
We knew you were under.
Good to be around.
But you had a vehicle. That's okay. But you were sick.
You were sick. You had a vehicle, but you were sick. I didn't have a vehicle, and I was sick. It's good that most people are left. It's been a long day.
No, I just it was a busy week, and pretty much, meeting with all the communities that we had, all those dates and meetings, they were great. I think it's something that we don't want to do every year, but maybe 2 years down the road. Maybe again, see, just. I mean, it's good to communicate with our entities, cities that we have in our county here. Ian, you're gonna be sending an email for the roundtable, or we addressed the topics. Are we good with the language there?
We need to be more specific, Mr. Chairman. Right now, I think in the draft agenda, I had put in a topic for board, or an agenda item for board member topics, but we need to be more specific. So if board members have specific topics they wish to discuss, we need to delineate those specifically on the agenda.
Okay.
County business. I don't think county business will suffice. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of updates. Of course, we had the joint meeting with the City of San Luis, attended the Binational Aerospace Summit welcome reception, and prior to that reception, had the opportunity to welcome the delegation from Mexico to tell them a little bit about county government, which of course is unique to their structure. Attended the Yuma County Job Fair, met with Jerry Cabrera of Elevate Southwest, attended a grand opening event for employees who work here in this building with the chairman. And just wanted to express a big thank you to county staff who worked so hard, gave their time and energy to pull off the event this morning. And also a big shout out to Eric Johnston and Al Tanzi of our communications team. They're behind that one-way glass, and they put in a lot of time and effort to make sure that this meeting went well in our new beautiful auditorium. So thanks to everyone, and thank you, Chairman.
You know, and I did want to thank Robin. She did, every time I would go by her office, she was working on something that was especially for the boardroom. So if you see all our names there on the plaques, so, I mean, and every other, you know, every staff that did work on it, but she was really busy going at it for making sure that this boardroom was ready, and especially with the sound and the communication, so. And yes, so. Now that Tony's here, we can take pictures. Meeting adjourned.